Good evening to one and all present here. This is Shagnik, the designated moderator from CLIRNET for this session. CLIRNET is very proud to be a part of this webinar as its digital partner. Now, before moving forward, I would like to play a short video of CLIRNET which would serve its introductory purpose. I hope my screen is visible. Thank you all for your kind patience. As we all know, CLIRNET is India's largest live digital CME and doctors-generated medical content platform, which is exclusively free for all the medical practitioners. You all are requested to visit our website, which is www.clirnet.com, where you can watch lots of live sessions conducted by doctors with great expertise from all across the globe. We also have a MedWiki service, which is a medical Wikipedia, which is exclusive for the doctors to read as well. We are very grateful to this association and the star-studded panel with such highly affiliated doctors to be associated with us today on our platform. So now, without further delay, I would like to hand over this session to the moderator for today's session from the association, Dr. Ria ma'am. Ma'am, if you may please take the virtual spotlight and continue with the association, continue with the session.
Thank you, Sagnik. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to all participants. I'm Dr. Ria Roy from AIIMS Patna. So, thanks to CLIRNET, our digital partner, for organizing this important webinar with us. The topic today at hand is higher studies in public health in the US and UK. And this topic is conceived as a result of the joint efforts by the speakers and IACFM organization, especially for the young and interested public health professionals of India. The session will be divided into 4 main parts: the application process, the experience of application, the job search with other opportunities, and finally the question and the answer session. This is a much awaited subject in which we are all curious about, specifically regarding the what and the how and the when. We will go step by step into its very details, and participants are requested to send any questions they're having in the chat box of the webinar as directed by Sagni, but it should be accompanied with your name and the speaker for whom the question is directed towards. They will be addressed at the very end of the session. Now, I would like to introduce our speakers who have given the valuable time for this webinar. Our speakers today are Dr. Amit Mehto and Dr. Suruchi Gupta. And I'll start by introducing Dr. Amit. Dr. Amit has over 7 years of experience in public health, research, consulting, and program implementation combined. Hi, sir. And he holds an MD in Preventive and Social Medicine and MSc in Health Policy, Planning, and Financing from the London School of Economics and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. His main motivation is ensuring equity in healthcare access and utilization. He has held several positions over the years as health economist, project manager in CEPI West Africa Research Preparedness, researcher, communications consultant, and a fellow at the Geneva Health Files. He is also the deputy policy head at a global health think tank where he managed a team of researchers across the UK and commissioned external projects and initiated internal projects as well. He has worked in partnerships with multilateral bodies like the WHO and UNICEF, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare India, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, hospitals, research centers, and the community groups. We welcome you, sir. And next, I would like to introduce Dr. Suruchi. Dr. Suruchi is a medical doctor by profession with over 4 years of experience in public health, monitoring and evaluation, program implementation, and qualitative research. She holds an MD in Community and Family Medicine and currently pursuing Masters in Public Health with a concentration of health systems and policy and certification of evaluation of the international health programs from the Bloomberg School of Public Health at John Hopkins University. She has worked with AIIMS since her MBBS days and has worked with various multilateral bodies such as UNICEF, MOHLW, state governments, and the community coalitions. Currently, she works as a part-time consultant with JHPIEGO and as a research assistant under a multinational project funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. She is interested in health program evaluation, large-scale effectiveness, and designing human-centric digital health solutions, and her goals are to work at the nexus of digital health, technology, and healthcare with the objective of leveraging digital technologies to strengthen health systems in the developing countries. We welcome you, Dr. Suruchi.
Okay, so I'll start with the US.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and maybe you can fix voice until then. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for to the association for having me, and especially Ria for coordinating despite all the time zones. So I want to start with the process of applying. In my experience, the process to apply for the US was very cumbersome and very seamless at the same time. So to just divide it into three big blocks for you, the first step is always going to be doing your own research and gathering documents. So we're here to help you and to direct you, but you have to do your own research. And this is in terms of, you have to collect your own transcripts, etc., and so on. So how the US works is that our MBBS and MD, basically our MBBS, the transcript that we get, or at some colleges, we don't even get that transcript. You have to have your institution make an MBBS transcript for you. The transcript is going to show what grades you got, how much percentage you got, how many hours you spent doing every subject, like out of the 19 subjects that we've studied in MBBS. Once you do that, you have to submit your transcript to this this institute called WES, that is the World Education Services. The World Education Services is basically an organization or a service that helps US government or US colleges to equate your graduation with their graduation. So you have to submit your transcripts to WES, and then you must give a few exams to show equivalency in English and equivalency in, that you are eligible for a graduate program in the US. So TOEFL and GRE, a few other big names, acronyms, and exams that you have to look forward to. And another thing that I would highly recommend doing well in time are reference letters. So most US organizations or, colleges, schools are going to ask for at least 2 to 3 reference letters. These can be from anybody, your supervisor, your thesis guide, your HOD, your MBBS, but I would highly suggest that keep it diverse, keep it separate. Don't make all of your references from just, one college, like everybody from MBBS or everybody from MD. Pick one from MBBS, one from MD, and maybe one from outside. They root for people who've done community work. So maybe if you have had good contacts with a CMHO, DMHO, anybody in the government, have a reference letter from them. It truly helps. Then comes the application part. So as far as application to the US is concerned, unlike the UK, you don't have to visit every institute or every school's website separately, write out a separate application for each and submit it. Thankfully, in the US, there is a portal called SOFAS. Okay, so this is where all the public health schools in the US will put in their applications. And this is a portal where you make your own account. It's like a dashboard. So you make your account, it's a dashboard, and then you can kind of like shopping, it's a huge list of what institutes are offering what courses in what specialization, and how much it's going to cost you. And then you can just select from that dashboard that these are the schools that I want to apply in, and then add them to your SOFAS account, and it will do everything else for you. By everything else, I mean, it is going to provide you a dashboard where you can easily track what schools you have thought of applying to, when's the deadline, and everything. You still always have to write a customized statement, cover letter, intent, SOP, whatever you want to call it, for every school. Now, what I did is that, or what I think most people do, is write one standard SOP and just tweak it a little bit for every school that you apply to. Most of them are also going to ask for your CV, so highly suggest working on it right now. There's a lot of tools on the internet that you can find, and what I did in my experience was visit people's LinkedIns, people who were working in places that I wanted to work at, and just like get inspiration from that. Sometimes, just copy paste or use that towards your CV. Another thing which is incredibly important for the US is the scholarship application. So the US can get very expensive. There's there's like public schools here, private schools here. The living expense is also quite a lot. So you must strive for scholarships, and most scholarships are given out on a priority basis. So if you've applied early, or if you've applied to with a really strong CV or with a really strong application, you might get a scholarship from the school itself, but sometimes it's not enough. Not everybody gets a full tuition ride. So I will come back to giving you a few suggestions for scholarships again, but you must always think of external scholarships. Sadly, a lot of the scholarships that US also offers, they offer a lot of scholarships, is the prerequisite is to be a US national, which I'm presuming nobody here is. So yeah, that becomes a little cumbersome, but there's a few scholarships that you can get from India, and they're huge ones, but again, competitive. Now, I've spoken about WES, TOEFL, GRE, SOFAs. That's the most important of everything. Please take down notes for these things. I'll also share the links. Then is the visa application. Now, for visa application, don't fear rejection if you have had an admit by a good university already, because they're going to give you something what is called an I-20. I-20 is a form that the college or the school is going to issue to you once you accept their offer. Provided you get in and then you accept the offer, you're going to get a document called I-20. You do have an I-20, the odds of your visa getting rejected are next to nil. But considering after the pandemic, getting an appointment is really difficult if you're on a fresh visa. If you've had a US visa before, then it's pretty seamless. But for a new visa, there's quite a lot of strife to be done. But that's really far beyond from here. So I guess not as important right now. Maybe if you do get an admit, feel free to touch base with me. I'll be happy to help for visa as well. Now, timelines. Again, in the US, very, very strict timelines. By very strict, I mean that most of the applications will begin in August. All the schools will put it out on their website that they are accepting applications. So August might be a good time for you to start checking in at SOFAs and thinking about what you want to do and make an account and everything. December is when most schools have a priority deadline. So post December, some schools might still accept your application, but they won't prioritize you. And by priority, I mean that prioritize students who are who submit their applications in October and November. The odds of them getting a scholarship are higher than if you just submit after December. By January or March, you're going to get to know if you got in or not. Good time to start thinking about what to do next, quit your current jobs, apply for a visa and everything. July to August is when most schools begin. And graduation by standard is always May in the US. No matter how long your program was, but graduation is always May for grad schools. All right. Okay, so these are some useful links that you must look forward to. Out of these, I would say WES is the most important because in my experience, getting transcripts from institutes is really difficult. Nobody wants to sign on your documents and everything. And WES wants attested documents from the registrar. So if you're thinking of applying, say you start the process in August, the first thing that you must do is go get a transcript and email it and send it by mail, posted mail to WES. Incredibly important. Everything else can follow later. Some scholarships, as promised, I'm going to tell you about is the Fulbright Nehru Fellowship. Fulbright Nehru, its last date, I think, is October 31st. So must prepare for it. Fulbright is a great scholarship, covers the full ride, even gives you stipend to stay wherever you are. Huge catch, it will not let you choose your school. Okay, so the Fulbright chooses your school where they can afford to send you that year. And another catch, you have to come back to India for at least 3 years if you take the Fulbright. But it covers everything and also gives you a stipend. We then have an Aga Khan International Scholarship, similar, but you can come back. You can stay in the US. A very good scholarship is by the World Bank. One problem with the World Bank picks which programs it wants to participate with every year. So say you want to apply to a university in North Dakota or something like that. But the World Bank is not funding that particular program that year, so you won't be eligible. So highly suggest going to this website, checking out what programs are even eligible for it, and trying to get into at least 1 or 2 programs from that list. All right. The last one is PEO International. This is a very good scholarship, but it is only for women. So for all the girls, might as well look into it. I'm muted. Hello. Okay. So imagine you're here, you pick programs, and you want to do it. You've got everything figured out. So what do you expect when you're here? First of all, MPH is not the end of the world. There's a myriad of programs to choose with. Okay, there's DRPH, PhD, MPH, MBA, dual program, just MBA, MSPH, whatnot. It's like a myriad of programs for you to pick from. And for you to be able to pick from what program you want to be in, you got to know what you want and in how much time. So an MPH, a standard MPH from many colleges is 2 years. From really good schools, it's an accelerated programs like Johns Hopkins, Harvard, Columbia, which are like the top 5. For public health in the US, they offer accelerated MPH programs. The program is just 11 months and they teach you literally everything all over again. So yeah, you've got to know what you want and in how much time, because many MPHs are also school-wide, which means that you don't have a particular specialization, but some of them also let you pick a specialization. So you've got to know what do you want to do and in how much time, which is going to take some of your own time and research. But it's really important because you've got to figure out the opportunity cost of doing a particular program versus another program and what you're going to gain out of it. Another great suggestion is going to be, once you do come to the US, trust me, you're going to be spoiled for choice with regards to coursework. So how it works here in the US is that from high school, all the students here, they can pick from what they want to study. It's not what we did back then. We did like physics, chemistry, biology. You have to take these 3 if you want to graduate. English, everybody has to do it. Maths, okay, fine, you can quit it. But in the US, you can cherry pick from anything. You can study pol science and biology in the same year, and it's going to be completely all right. Okay. So how it works here is that they have a national organization called the CEPH, or it's basically a certification, you can say a licensing of sorts in public health. So they have rolled out a few competencies, and every competency is going to have an opportunity or an option of at least 10 to 15 courses that you can take. You can't take all of them. You won't have the time. You won't have the investment to do that. So you really have to cherry pick that. Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself in financing? Do you see yourself in evaluation, in adolescent health, in mental health, health system strengthening, digital health? It truly depends on you. So at least for the US, I can be very certain that you can make whatever you want out of your degree. So you'll be spoiled for choice, but you can also make the degree worth it if you take the right decisions. Okay. And a really important point is, again, going to be, you have to be ready for a variety of peer. So in India, we do MBBS, we do MD, we're always surrounded by doctors, we're always surrounded by, supposedly like-minded people and everything. But as far as the US is concerned, and I guess UK as well, when it comes to courses like MPH or SCM, MSPH, you will find people from backgrounds that you wouldn't even expect that would be working in in a place which is off lately regarded as very medical, but it's not. Public health is not as medical as we want it to be, I guess. So yeah, you will be sharing the room with plain MBBS people, BDS people, people with majors in pol science and whatnot. So you've got to keep an open mind, and you've got to know that if you do have an MD in community medicine already, there is a baseline difference, and which is why you need to strive harder to make your degree worth it. Fine, now you've picked a degree, you know what you're doing, you're here. In my opinion, all of these courses, MPH, MBA, MSc, everything, it's not as academic as it is an opportunity for you to network, open your arenas, tap onto opportunities as and when they come, and make some money. So you must look for on-campus employments. On-campus employments can pay you enough to, cover expenses for staying and food and everything. And maybe if you're lucky, you can just turn your on-campus employment to a full-time employment as well, or, open segues and gateways for you. The last thing that I want to say is something that I came here with, and I realized within 7 days that that is not how it works. You've got to know that no matter what grade school you got an admit in, say you got into Hopkins, you're doing MPH, you have a full ride, you feel that you're on the top of the world. You've got to know that this is not a silver bullet to being the WHO region head. That's not how it works. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved and a lot of value for hard skills and experience. So, but it is a great stepping stone. And I do believe that, if you do come here and just keep these few points in your mind, it's going to work out for you.
Thank you, Dr. Suruchi. So it was a very enlightening session as far as the US part is concerned, that from the application process itself, how long it takes, and what is the process of going through, where we can check, where we can upload our transcripts and everything, and where to check the applications, and what all requirements are there for the process of application. And about the visa thing, because there has been a talk that US visas are very hard to get nowadays after the COVID situation. So, how much timeline do you think for now it will take from August if I start applying, for example? Then how much can one expect? How much time it will take to cover?
So you will start applying in August. Priority deadlines will close in December. I would highly suggest that you submit your application by November. The earlier you submit it, the better odds of getting an admit. And also you will be given your acceptance letter early. So acceptance letters come anywhere between January to March, okay? Like mid-January to March. I got mine in March because I applied really late. I just took this decision and I didn't have anybody to do a webinar for me. So yeah, which is why I applied pretty late. But from my cohort, as far as I know, admits start rolling in January. Once you get an admit, you can just accept the offer, So once you accept the offer, the school itself is going to give you a document called an I-20, okay? Like I for India 20, I-20. Once you get an I-20, you can simply fill in, Once you get that I-20, you can apply for the visa at any time ever. Now, two scenarios. Either somebody has held a US visa in the last 4 years, or you've not. If you have held a US visa in the past 4 years, that's 48 months. What you can simply do is there's this thing called a Dropbox appointment, all right, a Dropbox appointment. And that's really fast. You can simply get a visa in like 2 weeks, okay? If you do have a previous US visa that you're trying to refresh on a student visa now. Imagine you don't have that, you're starting afresh with the US visa. So after you get the I-20, you submit it, you fill in a few forms, and you pay for it. And then the tricky part is getting an appointment, all right? That is the only tricky part. Everything else can be done in like 5 hours. Getting an appointment is pretty difficult, but it's not completely impossible. I know of a lot of people who got fresh visas this year. So there are a lot of US visa appointment groups on Telegram, and what you will be doing is that you will be on Telegram day and night looking for information on when do they open slots for visas. Okay. So the US embassy will randomly open like 20 slots for the day, and people will start booking those slots. And mind you, those slots are not going to be the same year. They'll be like 1 year later or 2 years later. But because you have an I-20 and you're not a tourist, you are going there to study, and the university has called for you, you can apply for an expedited visa or an emergency application. It works out. It's not a big deal. You just submit for an emergency application and you will get in. It's, I would say, for a fresh visa, be prepared for about 2 months at the least, which is why if you get an admit in January and you start your process, you might get the visa by March or April, and June you have to fly down.
Okay, so around if I am starting afresh and I'm applying for an expedited visa, so the whole process will take around within 1 year. I can go and start my course.
Like application process would take 1 year. You start this August, you will be in school next July. Okay. So that is going to happen. But I'm just saying, for an expedited visa, the earlier the better. And for earlier the better, you need to submit stuff in time so that if you're going to get an acceptance, you get it in time. You get it in January so that you can simply give some time to visa. I got my acceptance in March. Thankfully, I had a Dropbox. If I didn't have that, then it would be really difficult for me to tap a visa.
Thank you, Suruchi. So we have our questions coming in in the chat box. So we can proceed with the questions one by one. Yeah. So before that, I would request all the participants, if they have any questions, they can write it in the chat box and I'll just read that to our speaker. So the first question is from Dr. Zilgala. How early are we supposed to prepare transcripts and upload on the WES?
Okay, so WES transcripts last a lifetime. Once you have them attested by WES, it is attested like forever. So if you do have the transcripts right now and you're seriously considering going to the US, I would suggest do it right now, because WES takes pretty long. You have to send in your attested copy of your transcript by the registrar. Like, it'll be a copy of your transcript, a copy of your degree, and you'll put it in a yellow envelope, you'll seal it, the registrar is going to sign on it. And this thing you're going to send to the US by postal mail, okay, post mail, not email, post mail in a hard copy. And that is going to take a week to reach to the US. Once it reaches the US, it will take about 2 weeks for WES to process it. Okay. And this will require a lot of to and fro, because, the transcripts in India don't have a standard format. Every college has their own transcript. Like my AIMS gave me a completely different transcript than my other colleagues here who had it from other colleges. All right. So WES will do a lot of to and fro with you. That what does this mean? What does that mean? You'll be lucky if you get through the first way. So, but it's like, it's just a time-taking process. It's not a difficult process with WES. All that they ask is for a transcript. You send it by postal mail. They take about 2 weeks to send you an email that, your qualifications have been standardized to the US standards, and they'll send you back your transcript with what grade they think you are on, and, with credits and everything. So yeah, the gist is that if you do have your transcript right now, and if you're considering applying this year, get a WES score. WES score does not expire. Your WES transcripts do not expire. They'll be linked to your SOFA's account. So you'll be fine. You don't have to keep sending them new records.
Another participant is asking, MSPH and DRPH courses are available online. Which website is reliable? They're asking.
I'm sorry, I don't have information on that, because I always wanted to do a full-time program. And I would, I understand that you might have constraints of many sorts, which is why you cannot just come to the US and study. But as far as I know, Hopkins does offer a part-time DRPH program. So what you can do is that you can stay in a full-time job that you're working right now, get that DRPH degree, stay wherever you want. One big catch with the DRPH is you never get funding for it. Okay, so you will not get a scholarship for it. You will be giving tuition free from your own pocket. So if that is something that is appealing to you, go ahead. Highly recommend DRPH. It's a very hands-on course, and you get to keep your full-time job. You get to be in the you can still travel. You can keep coming back to the US and going. So yeah. And for the MSPH at Hopkins is a 2-year program. It extrapolates to Masters of Science in Public Health. And at least with the difference that I know of MSPH and MPH at Hopkins, the difference is simply that an MPH is a school-wide program. Okay, there are no particular you're not associated to a particular department at the school. You can pick your concentration, like I am doing in health systems and policy. You can pick a concentration. You can make your MPH about adolescent health, mental health, or even like epidemiology, biostats, whatever excites you. But MSPH is department-wise. So you will be called doing MSPH in the international health or MSPH in population family, like that.
Okay, thank you. So then another question is, what are the job opportunities after MPH in USA? Is it a competitive field? Asked by Vishnu S.
It is highly competitive, very competitive, because there's a lot of good schools and a lot of good students who come in here. Even a lot of Americans in med school, like, American nationals who in med school, they do take up MPH before they take up their own residency. It's a very popular program here. And there is a lot of competition, but I wouldn't say that your future is bleak. I would suggest that despite being incredibly competitive, It opens many arenas for you. And yeah, it's pretty competitive, but if you hit the right spots, it's very good.
Okay, so it's just basically a combination of all the hard work, skill, and luck, and
Yeah.
everything will
Yeah,
click. Ultimately, something will click.
Yeah, to be
Right.
honest, as far as job search is concerned, I am myself struggling with that right now, considering I'm graduating in a few months. So I'm also doing on a wild job hunt. I will maybe hit you up again in 6 months and say what happened and what didn't. But
Okay.
there's a lot of opportunities if you are willing to be flexible. If you're willing to put yourself in places where you might not be as comfortable. And yeah, so there's quite a lot of opportunity.
Okay. And two of our participants have asked a question that I'm kind of mixing and sending to you. Like just after, I am guessing just after doing MD in CFM, you applied for this and just went to the John Hopkins. So for that, how strong did you have to make your CV? And is it better that you went directly after MD?
Okay. This is where it comes in. How much time do you have in your hand? I didn't. Okay. I really wanted to wind up my education and enter industry at the end of everything. I didn't want to start working and then go back to school, because I think it's a personal opinion or it's a personal lived experience that I didn't want to do that, which is why I applied in my final year of MD. And I got into my final year of MD as well. In fact, there was an overlap between my MD final exams and my program at Hopkins. So I was basically shuffling 2 masters at once. Don't recommend doing that, but all right. I, you know, it kind of depends on you. How much time do you have? Do you have the time to wait for a few years and then apply? There can be many constraints. There can be financial constraints. Say you got in, but they didn't give you a scholarship. So I would say that it's a great idea that you defer for a year, get an SRship or work somewhere else for a short while, say an year, make some money, apply for scholarships. You can apply for scholarships even after deferring for a year. So defer is basically that you got the admit, but for some reason you don't want to join school this particular academic year. You want to join in the next academic session. So you have a whole year to yourself. In that year, you can do a job, you can work, you can get some industry experience. You can always look for other better scholarships, which you couldn't apply the last time. So yeah, you can always defer. And it objectively really depends on your time. If you have and what you really want to do, if you have 5 years in your life, go ahead, do a PhD, don't do an MPH, then it makes no sense for you. I didn't have as much time. I really wanted to be done in an year, so I picked an MPH. You can also do a DRPH if you don't want to move to the US. So yeah, it's basically about you, not what everybody else is doing.
Okay. So according to you, an MPH, if we have a certain amount of time, doing a PhD is better than MPH in public health. You are
Again,
if
no,
someone has more
I wouldn't say
time.
that. I would say some time and what you want. PhD is very academic, MPH is not. MPH is very skill-based, very professional. The day you enter a good MBA school, they'll say that this degree, this graduate degree is not for you to study. It's for you to learn professionalism, networking, and get skills and, basically become a public health practitioner and not a public health academician. PhD of my experience is pretty academic here. But PhD, yeah, MPH is not as academic as it is very skill-based.
Okay. And finally, Dr. Akanksha Agarwal is asking, can you please elaborate on the fellowship options available after FD Community Medicine? Or if you're doing like MPH and you want to come back in India and work after completing MPH, so would those fellowships be useful or not?
Okay, so I never thought about fellowships. I knew I wanted to go to Hopkins. There's a few faculty here that I wanted to study with, so I didn't consider fellowships at all. If your question is that would fellowships help or not, I want to bounce this question off again from you. What fellowships are you thinking about? And what is your career trajectory that, you want to become this, which is why you're doing this fellowship. So that is that's what is going to matter. A lot of people do not even do MPHs and just make their entry into the working field and everything. Some of them do it. It's solely about what role do you see yourself in, and then you chalk out your pathway.
What are the prospects? How it is different in in that sense.
So say this is MPH, this is DRPH. You don't have as much time in your life and you want to start earning money right now, MPH, okay? You don't have, but you do have time to get experience, like on field experience, at least 3 or 4 years, and then study something DRPH. Because MPH in most schools does not require you to have had work ex if you are a medical doctor. Okay, so if you're a medical doctor, say you're an MBBS and MD, you will get into MPH without any experience, any prior, field experience as well. DRPH, you won't get into it. You have to work for a few years before you can even apply to a DRPH. All right. Now, you want funding, you don't have as much money, go for an MPH. You don't, you are fine with spending a few lakhs on education, go for DRPH. Okay. Both are very skill-based, both are very practical. DRPH is just a little bit longer and can be done part-time. MPH, I would never recommend that you do part-time, never, because it's a really short program and you will only tap onto its true potential if you are here, if you do it. So you want to live in the US for a short while, MPH. You cannot live in the US, you have family, you have constraints, DRPH.
Okay. Thank you, Suruchi. And the CV part actually, for like you said that for MPH, you do not need to have an elongated work profile before joining. You can just do your MD and join into that. So, but will the preference be greater if our CV is strong with work experience?
Yes.
Do they do something?
Yeah. Basically, medical doctors can get into MPHs. If you do have an MD ComEd as well, that is additional experience, okay? Additional work ex, which a lot of people don't have. So they count your MD and a little bit of your MBBS internship as your work ex. So you don't exactly need work ex, but say you have more work ex than it is, the odds of you getting a scholarship are higher. It does make your CV stronger. And it will also be easier for you to tap onto on-campus employments here. And also know what you want to do. So, I of my personal experience, I came in right after my MD community medicine. I was pretty sure of what I want to do from the very beginning, even in my MD ComEd, which is why it was not difficult for me to decide that, where I want to go and what program I want to take and what that program needs to specialize in. I didn't have that problem. But of my experience, a lot of ComEd people fail to have that clarity because of, this overlap in our subject. It is not a watertight compartment as soon as it comes to medicine. Like you do everything, you do a little bit of everything, and then by the end of it you were like, what is it that I wanted to do? So which is where.
And finally, to you, Dr. Suruchi, personally, I would ask, how is MPH feeling right now and what has been the journey?
Okay, so my lived experience is gonna be that it was pretty overwhelming at first because, after having studied in India and in government colleges for all of my life, and then you come to a private school altogether, and it's a new country, it's a new continent. So personally, it can feel very overwhelming at first that, where are you and everything, especially if you've worked for a couple of years and then you come, it's going to be even more overwhelming, solely because, as soon as you come here, you're like, you leave a job behind, you leave this constant influx of money behind, you're here, you're like, and you're so used to working, and you're now back to full-time school. Even MD was not full-time school for us, right? We used to go to fields, we used to work, and right before exams, we just study for like 15, 20 days and just write that exam. coming back to school after MD, proper school where you have to go to classes, where you write assignments, where you do group presentations, make PowerPoints about biostats and everything, you will feel like, okay, why am I in school again? But it's a very exhilarating experience. You meet so many new people. It really does open your mind. It changes your perspective about so many things that we normalized. So it's a great experience. And yeah, I think it was very overwhelming for me, solely because of a new continent at a particular age and everything, but I enjoy it, and yeah, I'm happy.
Okay, it's really nice to talk to you, Dr. Suruchi. Unfortunately, we couldn't know much about the UK part, but Dr. Amit has said he will send out a video to all the participants, and we will make sure to send that out to all the participants so that they also come to know about the basic application process in the UK. So I will tell everyone not to worry, and any other questions that you can share to the speakers through their mail, you can convey them to their mail, and we will share the email address in a short while. So then a feedback form also after this webinar will be circulated. So please let us know your honest review about the quality and relevance of today's webinar. Your feedback really matters to both us, IACFM, to CLIRNET, and to the speakers as well. So they can also get back to you on these answers. The answers will be shared to you in any way. And for that, if you are connected with us, IACFM, that will be of better transparency and opportunity for everyone. So, and e-certificates will also be distributed in a couple of days. And so next, I would like to invite the acting president, Vice President of Indian Association of Community and Family Medicine, Dr. Rubina Saha, who is done MD CFM, and he is a senior resident in the Department of Community Medicine and Family Medicine at AIIMS Bibinagar. So for the vote of thanks. So over to you, Dr. Rubina.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Suruchi. So this is Dr. Rubina here from the other side. The last hour has been a very fruitful discussion for those who are willing to go abroad to explore their public health field expertise and are apprehensive about it, obviously. Some people, they think that we have to go or we should not go. Like many of us have taken, like Dr. Suruchi has shared with us, like we are doing everything in India. So that is one thing, like we are seeing patients, we are going to the fields, we are doing this and we are doing that. And at the end of the day, the entire community medicine postgraduate students are getting confused what to do, what to not do. Like she was clear, I think around 100 participants or more have been participated in this webinar. I think around 50 of them might be thinking of going abroad and taking their step ahead in the public health expertise. And I hope this webinar has helped them in a great way. I would like to thank both of them from the bottom of my heart for such an eye-opening session and would love to collaborate with them in the future. I would like to thank Dr. Ria for moderating this session, and I would like all the participants to participate in this webinar. And I would like to congratulate the IACFM core committee members and IACFM association members for believing in this association. And this is our second webinar as such. And I would like to thank Dr. Aviraj as well, who is the ex-president of IACFM, for working day and night and getting us the right persons for this session. And I would, last but not least, I would like to thank and congratulate the CLIRNET team, especially Ms. Sazia and Ms. Prachi Goenka and the team to hold a wonderful session. We are happy to collaborate with you in future as well. We are pleased to inform that we are planning to host a family medicine and pedagogy webinars in the future. And this will help in knowing about what family medicine is to the people who are interested in family medicine, maybe the people who are doing MBBS right now, or the people who are enrolled in the subject of community and family medicine, or those who want to take family medicine in their future as a subject. So I hope those webinars will help you. Rest about the pedagogy. I've heard from a lot of feedbacks that are coming that you all need a pedagogy session. I agree that pedagogy is really important. for the postgraduate students, and I hope we are planning to conduct those sessions in the future. And it won't be only one session; it will at least be 4 to 5 sessions, because pedagogy has much things to do in that. And yes, there is also a GBM meeting on 27th of February from 6 to 7 p.m. for the association members. So would like to request all the IACFM members to attend that session, and please give your feedbacks and ways to improve our association. And pass the mic on charge to Dr. Ria. Dr. Ria, over to you. Thank you, everybody.
So once again, I would like to thank Dr. Rubina Saha for excellently addressing the end of this webinar, and Dr. Suruchi and Dr. Amit for their valuable time for guiding all of us through this wonderful. I think it's a bit tedious maybe at first, but in the end, we all learn through doing. Learn by doing is something that we have learned in this profession. And once you start doing, you will find that it happens process by process, and it's not that much difficult as we are imagining in our head, I guess. So once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Suruchi. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's not exactly difficult. It's a long, tiresome procedure. Takes a lot of patience, a lot of waiting, because you will be submitting your application when you will not hear for 3 months, and then suddenly it's going to be either a yes or a no. So you've got to be patient with it. You've got to have some, you've just got to have faith. It's going to work out. Just have faith. And yeah, it's a long, tedious, frustrating procedure, but the results are worth it. So if this is something that excites you, go for it.
Thank you, Dr. Suruchi. And then any questions that you have, we have displayed the email addresses of our speakers. So please, you can directly mail them, and you will have your answer. And anyways, just give us the feedback, and we will share that to the speakers as well. So on this note, I would like to thank our CLIRNET team once again. So Sagnik, can we end the session right now?
Yes, ma'am, for sure.
Okay.
We thank you as well. We are more than grateful to be associated with this association. And so we'll end the session as of now.
Okay, thank you. So we are signing off. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Suruchi. Bye.
Bye.